Hi everybody, this is a blue and red Arcane Bombardment deck that uses Consuming Tide and Explosive Singularity for hilarious effect. So I wanted to create a deck that basically leaned on 4 copies of Consuming Tide. I've kind of stayed away from this card in Arcane Bombardment decks for, pretty obvious reasons. We get to keep one permanent, and then our opponent gets to keep their best permanent. Everything else goes back to our hand, and then if they've got more stuff in their hand, we end up drawing a card. It's not the most ideal card for a deck that wants to create treasures and generally get an advantage on the board through creating lots of devil tokens. But if you happen to take out Burn Down the House, which is one of our main win conditions, and replace that mostly with Explosive Singularity, then we leave ourselves with a way to finish games without really having very many permanents on the board besides Arcane Bombardment. Now, bringing up the low end of the deck, we've got 2 Consider and 2 Play with Fire, some nice cheap ways to activate our enchantment, 4 copies of Impulse and 4 copies of Lightning Strike, both very flexible in their own right, and Lightning Strike itself can double as a win condition as we point copies at our opponent's face. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is really, quite honestly, the glue that holds a lot of decks in Standard together. I'm even myself guilty of this. This deck has held together decks that had no right to really function as well as they did. This card just does so many things and fits in so many decks that if you enjoy winning, even if you do enjoy playing with offbeat cards, you kind of have to throw this in if you're playing red. That's just kind of the way it is for a little while, but it's a good card. It helps us win and it helps us accomplish our goals, which is what we're going for here. On the 4-drop slot, we've got 4 copies of Big Score and 4 copies of Jace the Perfected Mind. Jace is nice because he buys us a little bit of time, can function as some extra card draw in a pinch, and he could possibly mill somebody out, though I never did it in this particular deck. He's also a great distraction as people point their removal and their creatures at him, thinking we're trying to mill them out, when no, really we're just trying to point a really impractical burn spell at your face. So in all, is this the best incarnation of Arcane Bombardment? Probably not, but it's a great vehicle for showcasing some games with Consuming Tide and especially Explosive Singularity as we just try to blow out people with a couple of well-placed spells. So let's get over and see a few games with this deck on the ranked Standard ladder. I'll be with you for some commentary, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, this is acceptable to get it started. We've got a Consuming Tide, early interaction. Started off with a mountain to keep up Play with Fire just in case. Opponent with a Xander's Lounge. Play Shivan Reef and just pass it on back. Option here to Lightning Strike or Impulse. We'll just Impulse here. Oh, there's Bombardment and Big Score. 2 things I kind of want. Start with Big Score. Yeah, I was going to say, we're not guaranteed on that 4th land just yet, and so Big Score is going to be more helpful in the near term. Bombardment's still a little ways off, and we don't have that much in the grave yet either. Ooh, fancy Obnixilis. All right, they're going to make us discard. I guess we could have discarded, but whatever. We're going to consider. I do want that land. Now I think we're in business. A second Consuming Tide. Let's play our island and pass it on back. If they ask us to discard again, I will happily get rid of the Singularity here. Xander's Lounge. Going to cycle that away, opponent. Going to ask us to discard again. Sure, we'll get rid of Singularity. We're going to Big Score anyway and pitch a Consuming Tide. We pick up another Big Score and an island. And an Impulse. Still need to do a little bit of digging before we get to Bombardment. But we're starting to load up the graveyard with a little bit of burn. Finish off this game if we can get there. Don't want to discard to that Obnixilis this time as they cycle away a Proving Ground. End step, we're going to Big Score and get rid of Consuming Tide number 2. Opponent hanging on to only 1 permanent, so Consuming Tide not much help right now. Let's Big Score away this mountain. Another Singularity. Well, let's Impulse. Just a Fable, Impulse, and another Tide. Just trying to dig here for a bombardment while we're kind of in a lull in the game, and I don't really want Ob Nixilis to grow too much further before we can threaten him with some stuff. We play Fable, but our Shaman's going to get cut down. Fable number 2 is going to come down for us. Going to have the option to draw and discard next turn. And I see they've got to go for the throat for our remaining Shaman. And Ob Nixilis will tick up and ask us to discard once more. Sure, let's discard this other Singularity. Just increase our odds of picking that up later. Any follow-up plays? No, they're just going to cycle away a Xander's Lounge. Down to 4 cards. There's a bombardment. Great. So we're going to decline these triggers to discard with Fable. We're going to get bombardment down. And we've got play with fire to immediately activate with. Let's point that at Ob Nixilis. Manage his loyalty so nobody gets to draw 7 on my watch. Consuming Tide. Yeah, let's do it. We're going to keep bombardment on the board, obviously. But actually getting to replay Fable is not too bad here. So if we keep drawing lands, we're going to be able to use that ability to cycle some stuff away, and it's a way to give us another chance at a board presence with those goblins. Ob Nixilis asks for the discard. We say no. Down to 12. Opponent burns down the house, chooses Devils, and they're going to play a regular Tenacious Underdog. Opponent gets in for 3. We go down to 9. Well, we've got a Tide under that bombardment now, so let's point a Lightning Strike at Ob Nixilis. We know they're probably going to keep that one if we tied. We'll big score away this Lounge first. Tide. I do like how it auto-chooses our single permanent to choose from here for us. Devils get bounced, so they're gone for good. Underdog goes back to the opponent's hand, and we weaken Ob Nixilis a little bit more. Got no follow-up instant for next turn, so let's cycle this Lounge away. Just a land, unfortunately, so let's Fable again. Trying to fade a Invoke Despair from our opponent here. Ob Nixilis asks for the discard. We will oblige with a land since we're starting to get a hair low. Opponent thinking it over. They're going to go with Blood Tithe Harvester. And looks like a hasty Underdog. Follows that up with a Blood Token activation. And they're going to get in with the Underdog. I'm going to conserve life. We're going to block here. Pick up a draw down to 2 cards in hand as we draw a second bombardment. Let's pitch our Fable and our land. We have a lot of spells, so a second bombardment might not be the worst for us. A lot of spells down there. Do we Lightning Strike now? We might be safe to wait. I don't think Ob Nixilis is high enough to worry about. He's going to do that ability anyway. We're going to go to 7.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Ooh, okay. They're going to Ob Nixilis with the casualty cost. Sacrificing the Harvester.
Stand with me. You're my enemy.
That is interesting. So I guess they kept the copy token there. All right. Ob Nixilis going to plus again. We go to 5.
And you'll lose everything.
Tenacious Underdog blitzed. Gonna come at us for 3. We've got Lightning Strike. Let's point it at the Underdog and try to save a little bit of life and see what our bombardments can pick up for us. Well, let's Singularity on the face. Let's not Tide. Lightning Strike the creature. They're at 6. We get a Jace. Our Fable flips over. We need a spell to activate Bombardment. So let's regular price Jace. Plenty of mana left over. How many cards we got? Not enough for the trigger. Opponent has even less. Alright. Well, let's go. Mill 3, draw 1. Okay, it's a Jace. Let's see. Well, let's do cheap Jace. Brings us to 3. Keep the new Jace. Same deal. Mill us a bit. Except we draw 3 this time. There's a Consider. 2 Bombardment activations. We're going to get a Lightning Strike. We'll just point that at old Abby there. Get a big score going. Get rid of this extra Bombardment. All right, we get Play with Fire and Impulse. And just a casual 2 Explosive Singularity under Bombardment. It's no big deal. Yep, we'll do that. Submit 0 creatures. And -4 with another 10 on the way should do it. Good game. All right, interesting opener here. Some of the most generic yet powerful spells in Impulse and Lightning Strike, but they do the job. Let's start off with our Xander's Lounge. See if our opponent is on mono red. Oh, nope. There's a Proving Ground. We'll see what exactly they're doing in a moment, I'm sure. 2 Impulse, 2 Consuming Tide. Hopefully they try to go wide and we can get them. Opponent with an Amalgam here. We're going to Lightning Strike that. Appropriate, as there is a thunderstorm happening in the background right now. We're going to Fable on turn 3. Hopefully we can get a little more information out of our opponent here and see if we want to keep these Tides or keep these Impulses. They're not really going too wide so far. We've seen 1 Amalgam. All right, there's a Boseiju hitting our Fable. Glad they're getting it out of their system now before we start doing bombardment things. Pick a land. There we go. Could just be my old computer, but it gives me trouble picking the lands sometimes. Looks like opponent's going to Abrade our Shaman. We're playing a very fairly progressing game of Magic. Lands back and forth. Okay, looks like opponent missed theirs. Let's take the opportunity to Impulse. We're going to grab a Consider. I'm going to try to see if... There it is. Try to see if we can get Bombardment. What we're going to do now... Like, I know we've got 6 mana, but we also have big score. All right, there's a Stomper for our opponent. That'll get them up to 5 lands, assuming they didn't draw anything. We're going to big score here, and then we'll have enough mana to do Arcane Bombardment and Impulse. Or Lightning Strike now, I suppose. 3rd Consuming Tide of the game. We've got 2 mana left. Let's see, there's only 1 big score down there, so that I'm going to wait. If our odds were better of getting a big score, I would probably fire something off now. Let's see what we're doing here. Okay, not enough lands for the Stomper to attack. Ugh, should have Lightning Striked. So annoying. Sometimes you just get so comfortable hitting those buttons. Anyway, we're going to Lightning Strike now. We've got an Impulse to use on our opponent's turn, like we should have done before. And we pick up Consuming Tide on a board with 1 keepable permanent apiece. When I envisioned this this deck in my head, I was envisioning go-wide strategies. People making a lot of might tokens, other tokens that just disappear from the realm when we use Consuming Tide. We're going to Impulse here. properly activating Bombardment at the end of our opponent's turn. We pick up a Lightning Strike, which is good anytime. We'll see what we can get with our Impulse. Nice. Big score, very helpful. Pass it on over to our turn. Pick up a Xander's Lounge. Let's use our treasure. What we're going to do is use Consuming Tide. It's a sorcery, so we can activate Bombardment on our turn. We know we're just keeping Bombardment, so got to use those treasures and get them out of the way. It's not under Bombardment, so we don't have a choice with this first copy that's setting everything off. Impulse just finds us a Jace, and the original Consuming Tide goes off. Well, now we've got big score for the opponent's turn. I think we're going to pass it there. Don't feel like putting Jace down right now. Kind of want to use either this Lounge or Jace for the big score. Opponent with a Bank Buster. They're going to draw immediately. Another Proving Ground for them. I'm going to try to attack with this Stomper. Let's go ahead and big score then. Let's discard our land. Double Tide under there. We'll do one of them. Lightning Strike at the opponent's face. A little bit of Impulse. We see Lightning Strike is the only spell. We're going to take that. Opponent has a response here. Nope, just choosing permanents. They will return the Bank Buster to their hand. Stomper still getting in for 4 here. All right, we dropped to 12. Opponent's at 8. Let's drop an island in that case. Let's do the same plan again. Let's sacrifice these treasures. Doesn't matter too much which ones we do. Consuming Tide to activate Bombardment. And then we've got Lightning Strike for the opponent's turn if we don't pick up anything with these 2 impulses. We can afford to do the opponent's face here. Not enough burn under there to get a free removal on the Stomper, and we're not in too much danger of dying from that yet. Oh, 2 singularities. Well, opponent's close enough to death that we may just be able to burn him out straight here. I'm going to put a stop on the opponent's upkeep. We're going to do it during their upkeep so we can get another activation on Bombardment in case they've got some kind of instant life gain. Tamiyo's safekeeping. Apparently they do not. Good game. All right, we're leading off here with Xander's Lounge. We know we're going to hit 3-0, but we are against a red deck. Probably should have kept a slightly faster hand. We're going to drop our mountain and do nothing. Opponent will get in with their Phoenix Chick and play Voldaren Epicure, hitting us for an additional 1. Taking us to 17 as they make a blood token. Well, we pick up Fable. I think that's probably the best option. Essentially 2 creatures in 1, plus a little discard to draw effect. If we can gum up the ground, that's going to hopefully slow them down enough where we can get to our big Bombardment play. Reckless Impulse from them. Going to pull a few things off the top. They find Play with Fire for our Goblin Shaman and get in for 2 damage. Let's discard Jace here. Maybe Tide. Sure. We pick up another Tide anyway. Drop land number 4. Have to see if we can comfortably big score here and go right for Bombardment, or if we need to Lightning Strike something right now. Huh. Opponent with a second Phoenix Chick. Just a direct Lightning Strike to the face takes us to 12. Attacking for 3 altogether, and we drop to 9. Let's big score. Let's discard the extra Fable. We get Explosive Singularity. Alright, our Fable flips over. If we Arcane Bombardment, we're left with 1. Otherwise, our options are Consuming Tide. I think we got to try to go for it here. We might be able to squeak it out if they have to use removal on this blocker. That might be one less burn spell that hits us in the dome. Okay, they use a lightning strike on the Fable. They're going to hit us for 3. We're going to drop to 5. Okay. I think Consuming Tide. Let's use the sorcery. Big score. Let's drop Singularity. Alright, we draw another Singularity and a Xander's Lounge. We're going to choose Bombardment with the Consuming Tide. We've got enough left over to Lightning Strike on our opponent's turn. And they keep the Blood token. Alright, Phoenix Chick. Kumano comes back down again. Takes us to 4. Fuldaran Epicure, that's going to drop us to 3. Okay. Let's play with fire that chick. Save some damage and get an activation out of Bombardment. Can we Consuming Tide again? I'm not sure we can. Let's discard another Singularity. Might be able to just Singularity them out if we can be fast enough. Okay, we're at 3. Let's cycle this lounge and see what we can draw. Alright, we draw land and then big score for turn. Let's play a land. Big score. We'll discard a land. There's 2 Singularities down there now. Okay, we got one. Singularity to the opponent. We'll cast big score. What do we got? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's discard Jace. Do we tide? I don't think we tied here. We're going to try to do this on our opponent's upkeep and get that last activation out of Bombardment. Let's see. We only have 6 burn in hand, so we're going to have to get that trigger in order to make this work. All right, opponent's upkeep. Lightning Strike. Doesn't matter. We're finishing it with a Singularity. Bombardment trigger. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, they had it. Yeah, we don't have enough in response. Oh, yeah. You got me. That's fair. That's fair. Good game. All right. We got to try some more for redemption. We got 3 lands in our opening hand. We're going to cast Xander's Lounge. Opponent with a couple of multiple colored lands. Blue and black. All right, there's the Void Wing. We're in for some poison counters this match. Gonna play our Mountain. Let's just go ahead and Lightning Strike this thing right now, just in case they run that counterspell that's dependent upon poison counters. There's some green in here too. All right, we're going right for Glissa. Well, that's going to make a Fable play a little dicey. Let's see. It's not on attack. It's on damaging a player that effect happens. So what we're going to do is play Jace. We'll play cheap baby Jace. Use the -3 effect on Glissa. So unless they have a way to pump that up, it's not going to do anything this turn. Ooh. Rot Priest is here. I think everything outside of Consuming Tide for us is targeted interaction, so that's going to be annoying. All right, in response to our Fable, they're going to shore up on Glissa, making it hexproof, so Jace isn't going to be able to reduce Glissa's power to the point where they get no free activation of her ability. We'll hit the Rot Priest instead. That doesn't cause the triggered ability to happen. Opponent just going to attack Jace here with both Glissa and the Rot Priest. We'll just let that... Oh, no. We should have blocked the Rot Priest. It's fine. Yeah, they had it anyway. Rot Priest finishes off Jace. They usually have stuff to make their creatures better than mine, even if they look evenly matched. We're going to discard a couple of things here. Considering an extra Fable. Do we get in with this Shaman? Kind of want to get a little mana development happening, even if that means sacrificing the flip side of excuse me, not Bombardment, flip side of Fable. It's not what we're really after. We don't really need that third stage. All right, got a couple of treasures. Let's pass it on back. Big scoring there to avoid any counter spells, although that opponent's hand is getting empty. Thought we would have had enough there for another big score, but slight miscalculation on my part. No problem. We're going to try to Lightning Strike Glissa. That's going to trigger the Rot Priest and bring us to 3 counters. No protection for Glissa, though. They might be putting all their eggs in the Rot Priest basket. Sounds delicious. Fable flips over. Let's get a mountain into play. Attack with the Shaman. That will allow us to play Bombardment and have 1 treasure left to cast this Consider on our opponent's turn. All right, we do have a couple of lightning strikes down there, so we might be able to remove this. Oh. All right. Let's Consider then. Going for the Aura. All right, we just pick up Impulse, unfortunately. Let's take big score and keep the spells going. Consuming Tide could be interesting. So if they're going to stick this enchantment, we can give them a choice between keeping the Rot Priest and bouncing the enchantment. Gives them another thing to target it with and keeps the tokens coming on us, but might be worth it. We do have some chump blockers, though, for the meantime. Consuming Tide here picks our Fable back up. We can try to draw into some instant to do on our opponent's turn. Let's see. If we're going to Tide... Nah. We kind of have the advantage on board right now, so let's try to keep it that way. There's a Lightning Strike. Let's go ahead and hit the Rot Priest. I know we're going to get a counter from that, and it's going to come back. But the opponent has 0 cards in hand. Let's take an Explosive Singularity. And Lightning Strike hits the Rot Priest. Communion will bring it back. Big score gets us a couple of counters. And we've got a Lightning Strike to use on our opponent's turn. So let's get in with this Shaman here. Keep our Fable back to block. On our opponent's upkeep before they draw, we're going to Lightning Strike the Rot Priest again. Triggers Bombardment before they get a chance to draw any kind of protection for it. We'll do a free Consider, free Lightning Strike at the opponent, and an Impulse. Try to find our next move here. Third Bombardment. Might as well. Consider happens. Sure, we'll take a Jace. Rot Priest gives us token number 7, but has been struck by lightning. Opponent draws for turn. Just a land. Let's see how quickly we can try to finish this off before they draw into some proliferate spells. Let's big score. Discarding Singularity. See if we can't sneak that under a Bombardment. We get it. Nice. We'll tap 0 creatures. Point that at the opponent. And Lightning Strike as well. Quick 13 damage just in spells. We'll showboat a little bit here with an Impulse and an unnecessary Consider. Thank you, opponent, for not conceding. And looks like that will wrap it up. Good game. Alrighty. Let's give it a shot here. 3 lands into Impulse, Fable, Big Score, hopefully finding Bombardment. Jace for a little variety along the way. Opponent having a good think. Stuck on admiring their Phyrexian lands. Okay. I've been seeing so much main deck duress in best of one. It's hard not to take it personally at this point. They're going to take Jace with that duress. Usually means they have a follow-up, because I would have probably taken Fable there. Gix's Caress. Let's see what they take. Looks like they will make a Power Stone afterwards. They're going to grab Impulse. We're going to play our Fable. We did have 2 of them, so it's not really a effective choice to make us discard 1, but they might not be worried about it, since discarding to draw isn't the strongest effect compared to just straight drawn cards. Of course, they're going to follow up with another Gix's Caress. We're going to pitch Big Score in Xander's Lounge to this Fable trigger and see if we can't find something else to do. We're going to get in with our little Shaman. Help us out with some mana production. We're going to play a full price Phyrexianized Jace. And I think tempted to draw here. Put a couple of spells in the grave and pick up a land. Opponent with a Phyrexian Arena. That's going to be good for them to help fill up the hand. You play too much discard in a discard deck, you're sometimes left in a situation where you've both kind of spent out your hands and you're in top deck mode. The difference there is if your opponent's playing permanents to the board and you're picking up discard spells off the top, then the permanent player is going to end up winning that game, since the discard doesn't affect stuff once it's on the board. So it's a tricky balance to strike if you're doing that. Doing a little draw with Jace. Opponent's doing a little drawing with the Phyrexian Arena. Another Duress. They're going to take Consuming Tide. And then they're going to Soul Transfer Fable. It's nice including Fable for the first 2 modes that it has, and then not really caring if we ever see chapter number 3, since opponents, rightly so, feel like they have to eliminate it on sight. We get to play with fire here. Let's cycle this Lounge. Need to find some more stuff to help. Okay, let's see if we can't keep this in hand. All right, we're going to attack with the Shaman. We've got enough to play Bombardment, and we should have enough left over for a spell. Let's do Jace, though. He's too low on loyalty to do much of anything else. Let's see, there's at least a Big Score down there, along with some Consuming Tides. Odds aren't good enough to try and do a spell this turn, though, and have nothing for the opponent's turn. Another Gix's Caress. Well, in response, we're going to play with fire straight at our opponent, bring them to 10. Bombardment picks up Impulse. Oh, but we'll take the Singularity. You can make us discard that. We very much want that in our graveyard. And we'll keep a spell on top for next turn. Joke's on you, my discard opponent. We do want that in the grave. Although, actually, we're getting pretty close to hard casting that. The amount of treasures this little Shaman is making for us. All right, we'll do a little plus on Jace. We'll do a little draw with the Xander's Lounge. We get an Impulse. Let's Impulse now. We can play with fire on our opponent's turn. We pick up Big Score to go with our Impulse. Another Singularity could be fun, but Consider will help us activate a little more. Yeah, Singularity. I mean, as tempting as it is to take Singularity number 3, we got to go Big Score here. I'm not going to throw 3 Singularities in a deck and then not try to hurl them at our opponent. Opponent Opponent's going to Shieldred's Edict us to get rid of Jace. Follows up with a Gix. And let's see. We're going to draw. I think if we get in with this Shaman, that should put us up to the 10 required. Let me see here. Do a little quick counting. Yep, that should be enough. Oh, I mean, I guess we could have tapped the Shaman for it, but you know. Little style. Explosive Singularity, hard cast at the opponent. Activates Bombardment, but we don't even need to pick it up from the grave anymore. Cast a few things. Don't know what our opponent's outs might be in this scenario. Big score resolves, and 10 to the face. Good game.